For nearly 3 decades, Teddra Burgess has worked at the intersection of enterprise technology, public sector strategy, and leadership development. From leading federal growth initiatives at some of the world's largest technology companies to advising executives and entrepreneurs through her firm, Chasing Outcomes, she's spent her career helping organizations navigate complexity, scale, and transformation. But her focus goes beyond technology. Teddra argues that organizations spend too much time developing competencies and not enough time developing influence, stakeholder management, and the leadership skills required to succeed at the next level. In this conversation, we explore the leadership gap few companies address, the realities of entrepreneurship after enterprise, and why understanding people remains one of the most valuable skills in business. This is the Risk Apogee. Let's get after it.
Welcome to the Risk Apogee, where we cut through the noise to get to the truth about risk. Cyber, physical, human. Every organization faces threats. What separates the ones that survive from the ones that don't is the decisions their leaders make under pressure. Each episode, we go inside the arena with the operators and strategists, shaping how organizations defend, adapt, and lead. This is the Risk Apogee.
Teddra Burgess, welcome to the Risk Apogee.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
I appreciate you making time for this conversation.
Absolutely.
Tell my audience a little bit about what you're doing in the space right now. You and I overlapped during our time at Google, but you are out on your own now. Tell us what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. After leaving Google, I took some much needed rest, first and foremost. But I founded a company called Chasing Outcomes, where I am focused on executive leadership and advisory, but also from a consulting standpoint, I'm working on federal go-to-market strategy. So working with companies that are interested in doing business with the U.S. Federal government in particular, but also state and local, wide across the country, but perhaps are unfamiliar, let's say, with the ways of the government. And so I'm really excited to continue the work that I've been doing for the last 25 plus years, but exercising it in that way.
We had a pre-conversation around the challenges that I think government experiences as it relates to technology adoption. What do you think it gets right about that process, and what are some of the things, because we can't talk forever, but what are some of the things that prohibit our public sector entities from getting access to things that might be helpful to them?
Yeah. The thing that makes folks shy away from it, I'll say first and foremost, is the compliance pieces. They just seem to be overwhelming, but they're needed. And so frankly, I think in that way, the government does get those things right in terms of having them in place in the first place. Mm-hmm. But that is what discourages a lot of folks because they just don't understand the procurement practices and the ways of the government from that standpoint. So what that really means is, I always tell folks that fundamentally, it doesn't matter if the government really is excited about your technology. It's the solution, the best thing that they've ever seen. If they don't have a way to get to it from a procurement standpoint, it's simply not going to happen. And so going into trying to do business with the government without a clear understanding of the paths, the contract vehicles, all of the things that need to be in place to really be effective and to help the government to be effective and to do so in a timely fashion. Without having those in place, you've got a real uphill battle.
You mentioned leadership coaching at the top. What about that space attracts you?
It's the pieces of the puzzle that I love the most, that leadership development, people development component of things, and having the ability to apply from a practical standpoint the expertise, but also the experience that I have learned, over all of these years. And so applying that to helping folks to navigate ever-changing, always, and the complexity that exists, particularly in the tech space, has been really exciting for me. And so having the ability to work with folks, not only one-on-one, but also at an organizational level from a leadership standpoint, because I think it really is the foundation of everything. As much as I am enamored with technology, it's still the people component of it all that keeps all of this moving. And regardless of what AI is doing, I'm always going to feel that way. So having the ability to focus on the people still means an awful lot to me.
I feel like sometimes that, especially and this will resonate with you, operating in the technology space, that there's not enough emphasis on the development of the people portion. There's always this emphasis around, hey, we got to get the technology right. Is that something that you saw during your time in enterprise, that maybe people weren't necessarily nourished in the ways that they needed to be from a developmental standpoint?
Without question, especially when you think about being an individual contributor in any organization and wanting to take that next step into people leadership, and then seeing how those roles evolve. There's very little practical education, training, learning, coaching, advising that goes on inside of these organizations to really prepare folks for, quote unquote, the next level of leadership, whatever that looks like, whether it's your first foray into leadership or if you're a senior executive looking to make a jump into the C-suite or C-suite into board work. There needs to be some guidance, some advisement, some coaching that goes on there. And my experience with companies, large and small, is that they don't always get that right.
So my experience has been, and you know my background, I spent some time in the military. I think the military does a really decent job at making sure that from one level to the next that they're taking time to pause leaders and give them the tool sets that they may need to operate at that next level. I'm curious as to what your impression was in enterprise around whether or not we're spending enough time preparing people for next level leadership, because there are differences between leading small teams and leading 100, 200 person organization. And you and I, we saw 1,000, 4,000 or 5,000 person organizations where there was one senior leader responsible for that. And I'm not quite sure, from my perspective, in every case where I saw that those folks were prepared for that level of leadership. Why do you think corporate, misses that lane around, hey, this person's going to the next level? They may require some different skills in order to be able to operate there.
We miss the soft skills pieces, and we really miss educating and training people for the corporate dynamics part of it, I'll call it, the political pieces. We approach things tactically in terms of, do you know the job? What is your role? What is your lane, right? What
are your competencies?
Exactly. Yeah. What are the various competencies that you have? What are your capabilities? So, certainly we understand all of those pieces of it, but there's still people that you're going to continue to do business with. And the dynamics do nothing but get more complex. And we do not do enough in terms of preparing people for those types of conversations, those types of challenges, the stakeholders that they need to manage, the cross-functional pieces of this, understanding the motivations of other people is something I talk an awful lot with the leaders that I coach about. What's urgent and important to you is not always going to be urgent and important to someone else. And having the understanding of, what are the things that other people are working towards is incredibly important when you want to try to build consensus and influence people.
What are the things that you think from a corporation standpoint or enterprise standpoint, what good did you see? What are they getting right about this process of developing people? Because there is some effort being undertaken.
Absolutely. I think that the approach behind succession planning, that they do get that right. The action of it, the thought process that goes into that causes you to take a step back and look at all of the levels that you have in an organization. Where are there gaps? Why is there not, a person that you can see that is readily able and capable of moving into the next level? And there's a lot of ego, right, often involved in the succession planning exercise, but the exercise itself and understanding the importance of that and including that into, an annual process, a performance review process, all of these different pieces of the puzzle, very, very important to do. But I do think we get that right.
Tell us a little bit about the entrepreneurial journey that you're on. What have you learned so far?
I've been in sales for almost 30 years, but quote unquote, selling yourself is a very, very different experience than selling with, quote unquote, a big brand name behind
product,
you.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly. And so thinking of yourself as the product is an eye-opening experience for sure, but something that I enjoy because I always bring everything back to relationships and to people. And so that's continued to serve me well.
Yeah. What do you think entrepreneurs miss in terms of taking that leap, which is pretty big? Both you and I are on that journey right now. What do you think folks should be thinking about that they probably absolutely miss before they put up their own shingle?
Scale. How do I scale? How do I scale? How do I scale? What happens when I go on vacation?
Yeah, because there's only one of you.
There's only one of you. And, really, I'm a planner at heart, but you do need to take a step back and ensure that you have all of your bases covered, that you've got a plan and a backup for that plan and a backup for that plan. But the scaling piece, I think more than anything, and that's true of all of the pieces of whatever it is that you're doing from an entrepreneurial standpoint, whether that's marketing, how are you getting in touch with your customers, how are you organizing your time, all of these different things. And when you start out on your own, you got to take a deep breath,
right,
and make sure that you've got all of those things covered. As
you go through this process, how do you think about identifying potential teammates, folks that you may want to bring on board to help with the scaling issue eventually? How are you looking at that landscape?
I've been working a lot with folks that are complementary to the work that I'm doing. And so taking a look at other folks that have taken this entrepreneurial jump and journey that are complementary to the go-to-market strategy type work that I'm doing, whether that's customer success, folks like yourself, that are so incredibly well-versed in so many different areas, but in particular in cybersecurity as an example, right? And pulling in the right partners when it makes sense to do so. In terms of bringing folks on board officially to chasing outcomes, I haven't had the need for that just yet. Yeah. But from a partnership standpoint, opportunity really does abound, I think, for that.
What are you doing about creating boundaries for yourself? Starting something can be really engrossing, self-engrossing. Are you being successful creating boundaries for yourself, or do you feel like you're awash in responsibilities at the moment?
I'm fantastic about coaching folks on boundaries. Really, really good at that. Yeah. And so definitely need to Dr. Heal thyself at times with the boundaries. I just came off of a vacation last week, a very relaxing in the mountains, contemplative.
You didn't do any work?
Of course I did, but I blocked it, so it was pre-planned. I knew the mornings that I wanted to get, some really solid focused work in. And those are the times I had three mornings where I watched the sun come up while I got those work blocks in. But those are the boundaries that I set, and it was a wonderful trip.
Yeah. I'm sure you do a lot of mentoring. I would venture to guess that lots of people in your network have probably reached out to you. Tell me if this resonates. If you had a nickel for every time someone says, I wish I could strike off on my own, go do my own thing. How do you think about counseling people about the aspiration of starting something new on their own and breaking the enterprise chains, if you will, and striking off on your own? How do you think about providing advice around that?
I'm a realist with folks. It's the idea of having your own thing, being your own boss, setting your own schedule, working work into your life, and really being able to continue to prioritize the things that are important to you. All of that sounds amazing. And so everybody you talk to, absolutely, sign me up for that. I want to do those things, right?
Right.
But that doesn't tell the whole story. And so the reality of a lot of what we've already touched on, the sleepless nights, I've got to get this done and there's nobody else to help me do it because it's just me, right. Types of things that you have to contend with. And so it comes back to the planning piece, to the really having a clear understanding of what it is that you are trying to accomplish, always keeping that outcome or outcomes in clear focus, and having some clarity around those pieces of it, because the worst thing you can do is to go into this, I think, with rose-colored glasses and thinking it's going to be easy or it's going to be just like insert, whatever it is that you've been doing, because it's not going to be anything like that.
Right. Talk to me a little bit about AI. Can't have a conversation today without artificial intelligence. We're out here in beautiful San Francisco.
Absolutely.
The RSA conference, and AI is, I will bet, I haven't been on the expo floor yet, but I'm sure AI is in every booth across the expo floor. How are you looking at AI as an entrepreneur, and how's it helped you?
It has helped me tremendously. It enabled me to start not one, but two companies last year coming out of Google. And it continues to power what I do each and every day from a tech stack standpoint. So all of this by myself. It's really me and my AI bots, right? We're getting an awful lot of work done. And so I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the opportunity and the possibility of what AI brings to the table. But I've been doing this long enough to know there's underlying risk associated with all of it. And so we need to be very pragmatic about the way that we're approaching it. But it is exciting. And it's a time to be alive, is it not?
It is. It's pretty amazing. I tell people all the time, I think that there are aspects of running your own business that even a year ago, I would have had to have hired someone to do a particular role and or task. And now with the advent of artificial intelligence from a myriad of sources, there are things you can get done and get done well without hiring someone. And so the cost-benefit analysis is just off the charts. But I still think that organizations are grappling with this ROI thing. Where are they gleaning the efficiencies? How are they documenting it? How do they know that they're actually being more efficient? I think for those of us who are entrepreneurs or maybe operating in small shops, it's a little bit easier for us to see the benefit and the value proposition because we see it in spades, I think, very close
the
from
productivity gains.
Yeah, the productivity is off the charts, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But it's AI that brought me out here to the RSA conference this year in particular. The new company that I'm working with just joined the board, advisory board of a company called Armor X AI, cybersecurity protection and ransomware AI company. So very excited about what they bring to the table. But I always say I don't get excited about any technology because I work with the government and sell technology to the government unless there's a great procurement story. And they have a great procurement story.
Okay.
Yeah.
What excites you about the future?
That's a loaded question.
It's meant to be.
Yes. I don't think that there has ever been a time where there truly are, it feels like there's no limits. The opportunity, the access, I think that part really excites me. I've been so focused for almost the entirety of my career on U.S. public sector, on customer experience, on citizen experience. And there's just never been a time before now where the ability to affect change, the ability to combat, to take on complexity of any kind, there's just so much possibility that exists today. And AI, of course, is at the forefront of all of that.
So I got to ask you the flip side of that now. What are you concerned about? As she exhales.
Indeed, you kind of have to because it's not just, it's in the hands of everyone, right? As much as we see, let's talk cyber, as much as we see the cyber landscape changing as a result of AI, it's not just the good guys that have access to all of this, right? As AI continues to evolve, so does the threat landscape. So does the access that everyone has. Look where we are today in the world. Wars are fought with an awful lot more than bombs and bullets, and so it's those aspects of things that definitely do concern me.
Final question: a book, song, or other artist or creative that's really impacted your life?
I can't pick one single book, but I'll give you an author. Is that fair?
That's fair. Yeah, and movies are a part of that palette as well.
Yeah.
So
wonderful.
Yeah, anything in the creative genre.
I would say Dr. Maya Angelou, for certain, since I was a little girl, has always spoken directly to my heart, to the foundation, I think, of my character. Talk about outcomes and goals and things that we want to accomplish in life, but still keeping what matters most at heart. I think of her first and foremost, and her voice continues to impact my own.
Well, that's an outstanding North Star. Teddra Burgess, thanks for being with us on the Risk Apogee podcast. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks for being here on the Risk Apogee. Every episode, we dig into what it actually takes to lead through risk. And that's the same work we do every day at Apogee Global RMS. Cybersecurity, physical security, organizational resilience, talent strategy. One integrated approach built around your people, not just your platforms. Are you ready to move from reactive to resilient? Visit apogeeglobalrms.io and sign up for a risk-free consultation with our team of advisors.